Halo.
Halo. Tata terbalik.
Ini kebetulan pakai mixer, so let me try ini ya. Di landscape ini.
I see. Cantik amat.
Ay,
Oh, kerudungnya senada.
iya, sorry ya. Oke, so halo Rini, Maulida. Sudah.
The postgraduate students from UNES.
Oh,
Ini
I
Maulida.
see. Oke.
Ya. Mbak Sonia hadir.
Halo. Let me give you kiss. Okay, so yeah, hopefully it's not falling. Ini teknis sekali memang. Halo Stephanie. Yap. Okay. Halo Amelia. So
I hope that a lot of people are interested in assessment because it is it is not like the other topics or the other subjects. Yeah, when I found that there are few students who are conducting research on assessment, and I hope after we have this kind of discussion, so there will be another students who are interested in areas, because a lot of things to discuss here, especially in remote learning, ya, Ibu Ratu.
Okay, so that's actually our goal, that make something that seriously, but we can discuss it in what we call it, ya, dengan cara yang santuy gitu. Okay.
Betul.
Yeah, so I think it is the time, so we can start it now. Before we discuss or have a sharing session, I'd like to ask Ibu Fani or Mbak Fani, how should I?
Mbak Fani aja ya. Make it younger like Mbak Prila did. I watched the previous session with Ibu Prila, and yeah, she asked to be called as Mbak, so of course I am.
Okay, then we have Mbak Entika Pani here, and perhaps Mbak Entika would like to introduce to our audience about your what actually you did in your daily.
Okay, thank you very much, Ibu Ratu, my beautiful partner in S3. Yeah, let me introduce myself to the audiences, to those who are far away from us. Yeah, some students know me maybe, but there are a lot of students or even the other person who do not know me. Of course, my name is Antika Fani Pratikawati, but everybody usually call me Antika or Fanny, but most of them call me Fanny, yeah, like you do. And I am an English lecturer in Universitas PGRI Semarang, the former SIG PGRI Semarang. It's been the 11 years, if I'm not mistaken, the 11 years, and I was the assistant of one of the lecturers there before I became the real lecturer. Yeah, so I'm assistant of one of the lecturer, and that lecturer taught language testing and evaluation. So that's what I call it as the door when finally I am interested in assessment. But formerly I am interested in reading as one of the language skill, ya, Ibu Ratu.
Okay.
Because I was concerned with with national final examination at that time. I focused and questioned myself why national final examination pay attention on reading, yeah, mostly. We know that the item tested in national final examination is reading. That was the first thing that I was interested in assessment. And then the more I read assessment, the more question I gain in myself. Then now I'm focusing researching and then doing teaching and learning in this area of assessment. I also concern myself in curriculum development and teaching material development, but most of my research uh, are in the area of assessment.
Assessment.
Maybe that's for me.
Okay,
I
so
don't think.
like expert enough on it, right? So we have great speakers today for sharing about the formative assessment in remote teaching and learning. So before we do sharing or what we call it discussion about the assessment itself or formative assessment itself, I'd like to remind all the audience you can be active listener. You can post kind of comments, and then you can post a Q&A in a Q&A box. You can find that below there, and it's free for you to express your argument, opinion, and you can
Idea.
ask everything to Mbak Pani relate to formative assessment. Okay, then we have Mbak Prila here. Hello, thank you for joining
Hello.
us. And then Dian Priambudi, thank you. Okay, so Mbak Pani, perhaps we start. Can we directly talk to formative assessment, or you want to explain or give us insight about what is assessment itself?
Okay. So of course, for the first time when we talk about assessment, I'm curious, yeah, that most of my students will think something scary, something nervous, yeah. And this is the mindset, the paradigm that we need to be changed, yeah. When we talk about assessment, I think the most common thing, yeah, happens to my student is talking about test. But of course, when this kind of paradigm runs in a long way, so I think it is a must for teachers, for educators, for us as the lecturers to change this kind of mindset, because assessment is not merely about the test. It's not about measuring. It's not about grading. It's not about scoring, but it tends to to monitor what the learning progress, yeah, among the student, and also the teaching progress, yeah, for the teacher itself. So I think the first thing that we need to change is the notions, the perception, the paradigm of uh, assessment itself. So after we have changed that kind of mindset or thinking, then we can, of course, say that assessment cannot be separated with the term test. Yeah, of course it is, because test is one of the instrument or the tools that we can use in measuring or evaluating the student's achievement. But most of the tests is related to uh, the summative assessment. I mean the assessment that happens at the end of the course, at the end of the study, to evaluate or to measure or to see in what level they are, whether they have done with this, when they have achieved with this kind of material or not. But as a lecturer or even the educators itself, we need also to focus on the other terms of assessment. Yeah, that is called as formative assessment. So here I can say that formative assessment is teachers and students appraisal. Yeah, I use the word appraisal. Yeah, students and teachers appraisals of progress. Yeah, towards learning goals that happen during the course of learning. And here we also need to notice the main purpose or the main goal of formative assessment itself is to monitor, not just to evaluate the course itself. Yeah, but we need to monitor both students and teachers. Yeah, so this is why uh, then some experts call that formative assessment may covers any methods, any techniques, yeah, that are used by the teachers to monitor the students' learning progress. And of course, the use of formative assessment here can be really helpful for both the participants of teaching and learning, students and the teacher itself, yeah, to gain more evidence about teaching and learning progress during the course or during the certain lesson.
Okay, what a good explanation. We can see clearly that everyone, when we talk about assessment, I think that's something what we call it perhaps frightening or something because it's related
No,
to tests actually, but then it's not about tests that you say or you mentioned previously that it's not always about the test, yeah. Okay, so
yeah, sure.
okay. Yeah, and then you mentioned about this is how to monitor what
Hmm.
actually happening in the classroom. Is that so?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so true, Ibu Ratu, because a lot of evidence, yeah, the things that the teachers today do not realize is that the use of formative assessment can gain a lot of the evidence, yeah, both for themselves as the teacher or the lecturer, but also to gain the information for the student improvement. For example, when the teacher use formative assessment, the result of formative assessment can affirm or confirm whether we as the teachers, as the lecturers, should continue with the planned instructions of the evidence if the evidence shows that the students are ready, or even
Okay.
we need to we need to adjust the instructions if it is needed. Yeah, so it is like a mirrors for the teachers. Yeah, whether the instruction given in the classroom, the media that we use in the classroom is quite good enough or not for the students' need. Yeah, in understanding the material. Meanwhile, for the students itself, the use of formative assessment here can give them an insight into their progress towards
I
the
see.
learning goals. Yeah,
Okay.
sometimes they also comes to the moment where they say, "Aha!" Yeah, where they say, "This is something that I do not know. This is something that I really know. This is the material is good, the material is not really good for them," and so they can adjust the approaches, the strategy of their learning. So from that kind of evidence, the students will try to to seek the assistance, whether
Okay.
from their friends or they what is it? They need more extra works, yeah, to learn with that kind of material. So I think formative assessment is quite beneficial not only for the student itself in this remote learning, but also for us as the educator in the classroom.
So we'll gain the benefit both for student or teachers itself. Okay,
Yeah.
then yeah. So talk about this formative assessment. Is there any kind of characteristic or element that formative assessment, especially that we can conduct in remote teaching learning in this area?
The
Yeah.
the elements or the
Yes.
characteristics. So actually, formative assessment has two important elements. Yeah, the first is
Okay.
the process, because formative assessment really highlights on the process during the course, during
Okay.
the lessons, yeah, or the study. And the second one of the elements of formative assessment is the tool. Yeah,
Okay.
we need the tools to realize the implementations of formative assessment here. So, for examples, what is it? For example, as the teacher, we might give a brief ungraded quiz, yeah. So the
Okay.
quiz which is not graded for scoring, yeah, and a brief ungraded quiz that we call as the tool to check the students' understanding after a series of two maybe or three lessons. So we need to check, yeah, before we continue to the fourth lesson. We need to make sure as the teacher whether they have really understand the material or not. And there are a lot of things that we can do as the English teachers in the classroom. Yeah.
Okay. So we see our process and tool. Talk about the tool itself. Uh, and you perhaps mention one of the example of tools in formative assessment.
Okay. So the tools, there are a lot of tools actually, yeah, that we can use. So based on the experience that I had before. So I had what I call as dosen mengajar at school, dosen mengajar di sekolah.
Okay.
So I had that chance with some lecturers that was programmed from, the program was conducted in the last years at the beginning of COVID-19 and sponsored by Kemendikbud. And at that time, I realized that small actions in the assessment that I call as formative assessment can uh, can lead me to the new thing, to the new finding of my students. For example, I was teaching in junior high school, the first grade, Ibu Ratu,
Okay.
and at that time I was in team teaching, yeah, team teaching with the English teachers there, and we asked what is it? The students to respond a short expository, if I'm mistaken, expository text, yeah,
Okay.
and what I found that the students of mine, he is a boy,
Okay.
uh, uh, produce a poem. Do you
Okay.
see that there is no relation here? Yeah.
Yes.
So at that time, the English teachers and I asked them to respond, asked the students to respond expository text, a short one, uh, through creative writing. Yeah, so they may write it in their own way. But one student, Nico, uh, produced a poem, and at that time when I read that poem, I realized that he may have another reading. Yeah,
Yeah.
and from this kind of products, then give I gave him a feedback like uh, providing or presenting and then giving the suggestion on another literary books relating to the poem that maybe match with his level, his age, yeah. So this is small things, yeah. The response, yeah. Students respond on the certain material is quite small thing that we can do in remote learning, and it was fun because a lot of students were interested in writing. Even at that time, we were in the reading class. So that's one of the examples that I did in the last year.
Okay, so nice experience. Yeah, talk about the tool that we can use in formative assessment. So nowadays in this pandemic era, we concerned about something happen in remote teaching and learning. So why do you think that? In your opinion, it's formative assessment important in a remote teaching learning, and why is it
Yeah,
important?
sure. This kind of assessment is really done. It's really, what is it, matching with the conditions of our teaching and learning process today. Yeah, the remote teaching needs more effort from the teachers.
Yeah.
To see what happens in the classroom. So when we talk about the teaching and learning process, the assessment cannot be neglected. I mean,
Yeah.
the feedback that we give. Yeah. So it is quite important for us to just give one of the components in formative assessment like feedback itself. Yeah, it is quite beneficial for their improvement because they are bored with
Yeah.
online class, and
Yeah. So
then
many tasks
they
given
may,
by,
yeah,
yeah.
a lot of tasks. So I think we need to change this kind of
Yeah.
paradigm. Yeah, scoring, grading, we should uh, not make it overwork. Yeah, why don't we try to, what is it, why don't we try to move to the other kind of assessments so the process of teaching and learning can be more fun, can be
Yeah.
more challenging, yeah, in this remote teaching and learning, because a lot of tasks to do by us as the educator, correcting, seeing the student assignment. The more we give the assignment, the more tasks that we need to do,
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, so we
So
need to
true.
change this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we need to, what is it, to present the different term of assessment. Of course we need summative assessment, yeah, at the end of the course, but presenting or checking the student understanding should be fun, should be uh, uh, interesting for the students. And we are presented by a lot of technology that we can use in
Yeah.
formative assessment, such as Kahoot, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Kahoot, and then quizzes.com, and then Flickr, Socrative, and this kind of technology advancement in the implementation of formative assessment are really helpful for us, yeah, to make the feedback is given quickly, and uh, this quick feedback then can be confirmed by the students to make any kind of changes, yeah, in their learning process. So I think we need to change that kind of process in assessment.
Okay, I do agree actually that in this remote teaching era, kind of instruction or given a burden of task to our student, I think it's not, what is it, good idea, yeah? So doing a formative assessment and giving them, oh, what is it to do,
Yeah.
kind of, we can say it fun, yeah? They can,
Mm.
what is it, things that is like games, they can do it with fun. Okay,
Yeah.
so Mbak Fani
Even
mentioned, okay, yeah,
even in Universitas PGRI Semarang actually had one of the application where the students are
okay,
involved very well to check their learning process. We ever use what we call as DINET
Dinet,
in one of the DINET program, and it was the program provided by the university. So that
okay,
kind of application that is installed can be installed in a PC or laptop or
I
the
see,
computer at home, uh, can check the students' learning progress. So they are the students are very active. Yeah, they need to be very active in what is it? In tracking their own progress. Like this kind of program in Dinet, the students sometimes were asked to, in speaking, yeah, they were asked to pronounce something, the sentence, yeah, a long sentence, but then if they were not good enough, then they were asked to repeat until they are done. So this
ah,
is yeah, that's very good application provided by the university, or even in today's LMS. Yeah, maybe
yeah,
Ibu Ratu knows what we call as SPADA. Yeah,
yeah,
SPADA
further, yeah,
University.
yeah, so each institution actually utilize this kind of LMS, yes, but
Yeah,
So it's a good notion, yeah, that Upgris use one of the application that every student can use it. I think what is it? The institution also should give support in this kind of
Support.
remote teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this talk about this application. Can other student outside of Greece use that kind of tools or devices, or this or
Device.
internal only?
Uh, it was only used for students in
Internal.
Ugri. So
I see.
and it is only proposed for English education department because China focused on teaching and learning, English teaching and learning.
I
So
see.
the package is very complete. But when the other teachers or lecturers wants to conduct an online formative assessment or technology-based formative assessment,
Yeah.
there are a lot of the applications that we can use, like what I mentioned, Kahoot, Lickers,
Yeah.
yeah. And I also found some English teachers in junior and senior high school in Semarang use Schoology and then Socrative
Yeah.
and then
Schoology.
uh, yeah, and then student evidence tracker. So I conducted a research relating to formative assessment, and I proposed a model that is called as a hot-based formative assessment, and now it is intended to be implemented in the remote teaching, and we are still waiting for the results. So it is like a trial phase, yeah, for having online hot based formative assessment. And I think the response from the English teachers are very good because uh, they usually focus on the summative uh, assessment only, yeah, because what is it? Some English teacher or some other teachers only focus on how the material is achieved and then how then the students can pass, yeah, in
Okay.
final examination. But this need to be changed before we ask the student to have a good achievement. We need also to what is it to
Right.
make an adjustment
Yeah. Yeah.
in our own ways in teaching, and it can be done through the result of formative assessment. I mean, the comments from the students can be one of
Yeah.
the result of formative
Yeah.
assessment that
Yeah.
can be a mirror for us, yeah, as the teacher, yeah. Sometimes we think that this media is interesting,
Yeah.
the teaching technique is interesting, but then the result the students are not interested.
Yeah.
Then the focus is not me, it's not
Okay.
us as the lecturer, but the students, because we need to present the assessment that that meets the students' need in this remote teaching and learning.
Okay, yes, what a brilliant idea that uh, there are so many application devices that we can use in this pandemic era, but then
Hmm.
finally we as a teacher should choose what kind of application or devices that what is it meet with the student needs. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, so we still talk about what is it formative assessment and remote learning, and then perhaps we talk about the strategy, yeah, about this formative assessment. What are the strategies of formative assessment in this remote teaching learning? What do you think about
Uh,
that?
okay. So as the actually when we read a lot of the articles, read of so many sources, yeah, there are a lot of strategy that we can use in or the practical strategy for implementing formative assessment. But let me summarize it maybe, yeah, in my point of view. So the first thing that we need, the first strategy that we need to do is clarifying the learning goals and
I
criteria
see.
for the
Okay.
student success. So first we need to, what is it? We need to state uh, the learning goals and the criteria for them. I mean, they need to know, we need to tell them what kind of learning goal that they have to achieve. And this, the first strategy can be done through written statement, the tools that we can use in implementing formative assessment in remote teaching is written or oral statement that can be implemented when they share their video of commenting something, or in documents, or even they can make through the students' learning journal. I ask the students to provide a learning journal when teaching in junior high school. And
Okay.
from that kind of journal, I can see whether they have set their learning goal or not. Yeah, we can directly realize that my students are engaged or not in teaching and learning. And the second point is that we need to provide feedback, because feedback is the heart of formative assessment. There will be no formative assessment without feedback, or the vice versa. So uh, uh, the computer, even the computers, Ibu Ratu, can be programmed to give the feedback to students, like what we do in our LMS, learning management system in Pada. Even, of course, that does not substitute for feedback from persons, but here feedback can help the students get a clearer picture, of their learning goals, and then get sense of how they are progressing. And then this kind of feedback also can give the student the ideas on how they can continue or to close the gap until the goal is attained. And the third strategy is giving the opportunities for the student to use the feedback. So here we provide an opportunity, like the feedback that we give to them should be confirmed by them. So there is 2 point of view of formative assessment participants. And then the fourth strategy may be about the conducting teacher and student questioning. Because teacher and student questioning strategy will produce windows into student thinking. As the students answer the questions and respond to the teachers, they make their understanding visible. So this is what I call that the strategy in formative assessment. Maybe we can see a lot of strategy, but the point is, when we coin the strategy, we also need to define what tools that we will use, use, and also what kind of process that we are trying to monitor. This is the strategy.
Okay, so at least we can mention this kind of strategies when we talk about the formative assessment, and we consider about something that relate to learning goals, and then also providing feedback, and then giving opportunities to the student, to perhaps respond to the feedback itself, and then the last one is about conducting student teacher questioning. I think that's a good notion about it. Okay, so before we go to other discussion, I'd just like to remind to our audience who actually loyal here, we from EduTech Siliwangi, we have a merchandise for you. You can post your comment and Q&A session here, and then you will get the merchandise for free. And Bu Pani or Mbak Pani will choose one of you to get the merchandise. Okay. Yeah, so actually there are kind of question here. Perhaps would you like to answer it, or we will do it in end of the session, Mbak Pani?
It's okay if you will read the question, which question that I need to answer.
Okay, so I think we make it an interactive session, Okay, so we have a question for Faizia Istiqomah. Ask about how much of formative assessment or how many time is needed in a course that, in case in a big class, is it better for teacher to give the assessment individually or in group? Okay, so Any comment about
So
that?
how much? Yeah. Maybe how many times? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, how many
Okay. So
times
as
and
much
then
as you can.
as much as we
Formative
can.
assessment, yeah, because we need to confirm a lot of things, even a small thing in the classroom, even a small
Okay.
material that we give, we need to confirm it, whether they are really into it or not. I mean, do not let us teaching the whole time. Yeah, small things that we deliver to the students need to be confirmed by teacher and student questioning strategy that I mentioned. So here we also need to emphasize that teachers questioning should go deeper than quizzing the students with questions that have right or wrong answer, because uh, uh, based on the open questions that showcase students thinking, it helps the students learn to think and express themselves in a discipline. Yeah. So we can see that here we are not talking about right or wrong, yeah, but
Okay.
knowing their idea of what they have thought, what they have understood is quite more important.
Yeah.
And formative assessment is also good for a big class, yeah, because we can do it in the live sessions of the class, yeah, in the live session of the class.
Okay. So when
So
we
we
talk,
can
okay,
directly ask them.
directly ask them. Okay. So perhaps Mbak Fani has a kind of
Mhm.
experience in how that we, what is it, conducting this kind of formative assessment. Uh, Perhaps you can give
In a
us
big
the
classes.
example in a big class or in what is it? It's only
Uh,
5 or 10
the
students on
most
the class.
uh, the most strategy or the tools that I use is questioning, yeah,
Okay.
and when I conducted an online teaching and learning using Google Meet or even the Zoom platforms, I used to ask them uh, to the certain question that I plan,
Okay.
yeah, regarding to the material that I deliver at that time. And from that teacher's questioning, from my questioning session, I know that the students are really in this teaching and learning or not. So that's a very simple thing that we can do.
Okay. So yeah,
I
directly.
can I can I can randomly call my students from the
Okay.
list of
Okay.
the yeah, you know what, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the one of the strategy that we can use in what is it, in formative assessment. But when you use the technology or involve the technology in the implementation, that will be more better, because big classes we need to give them one of the platform that can gain them in one assessment. For example, I provide some small quizzes in
Yes.
Kahoot, yeah, or
Okay.
in quizzes.com. Then I can let them to be in competitions in filling that
Okay.
short quizzes, but that was not intended for grading,
I see.
but the result can be my own perspective to know whether they are understanding the material or not.
Okay. So yeah,
So,
that's good
so I
idea.
suggest to use technology, Ibu Ratu,
Yeah,
for the big class.
especially yeah in this remote teaching learning.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Remote teaching and learning.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think that's a good idea, good notion. When we just what is it suddenly mention the student name, I think that will be
Yeah.
attract student attention. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Or the other
yeah.
things that I try to provide in my classroom is presenting the students, what is it, the students' work, yeah,
Okay.
and let by deleting the identifications. I mean, I let my student also work with it. I ask them to comment, yeah,
Okay.
to the work, yeah, so it is not the comment that I say this is good or not good, but to find more elaborations
Okay.
on uh, the material that we are delivering at that time.
Okay. Yeah. Can we call it this kind of reflection too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
reflection is also part of the formative assessment. Sure. So there is what we call as self-assessment and peer assessment. And
Okay.
in
Yes.
self-assessment, the journal can be used as the reflection for
Okay.
their learning progress. But when we talk about peer assessment, so we can say that the students, one students can be resources for the other students. Yeah, so they are completing each other to check whether they are understanding it's quite good or not.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's still related to Faiza. So talk about
Hmm.
which one is better giving assessment. Is it in individually or in group? What is there any comment about that?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So relating to formative assessment, I think it depends on the purpose of conducting that formative assessment. So actually, as the teacher, we have the certain purpose. What
Yeah.
purpose that I need to know about this? If I want to know the whole uh, pictures of students' understanding on a certain material, so I will make it in groups, yeah. But when we are trying to specify the certain context or material, I think it's better to make it individually.
I see. So actually, it's based on our needs too. Yeah, how what
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
sure.
goal that we actually we need. Okay, thank you. And then is there any? Okay, so we have from let's see, Dian Anggraini. Hello. How can formative assessment be used as a teaching strategy? I guess Mbak Pani have mentioned it before. Perhaps you want to give
Yeah.
kind of conclusion
Mm.
about this? Or briefly?
Okay. So, yeah, so the strategy or the teaching strategy which is in line with the formative assessment implementation is, of course, by defining which strategy that we want
Yeah.
to do. Yeah. For
Yeah.
example, in this remote teaching and learning, I will involve the use of technology. For example, I would like to see how Flickr's application is effective or not. So in Flickrs, we can realize the use of formative assessment in the classroom, as well as providing teaching and learning media uh, which is not boring. So it covers, yeah, it covers or it is like a package for teachers to present the whole teaching and learning process, which is very complete.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Mbak Fani actually mentioned about the strategy, yeah. 4 point that we mentioned, I mean, we discussed about that, about the learning goal and provide
Mm.
feedback, giving opportunities about the feedback, and then kind of student-teacher questioning. I think Dia
Mm.
Anggraini can apply those kind of strategies. Okay, is there any other question? Okay, so Bu Melissa, one of my uh, colleagues here, let's see. Oh, would you please share some practical and simple way according to your experience? Okay, actually, Mbak Fani has mentioned the experience about that. Any comment, Mbak Fani?
Okay, so the other, what is it? The other experience, yeah, on conducting formative assessment in
Yeah.
online, or
Okay,
so
so
in traditional one, I ever conducted what I call as journal,
okay,
and
yeah,
it is
journal.
very, yeah, journal, or even what we call as KYL.
Okay.
Do you remember? No, YL, and then what is it? Questioning strategy. But in online, I used to what is it? To use Kahoot, Quizzes, and also
Yeah, yeah.
Tanet as one of the platform that I need to check the students' learning progress.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Then we have other question here. What's the benefit of using formative assessment compared to other assessment? Is there any challenges that perhaps in Ibu Pani
Okay.
experience about using formative assessment?
So I think when we talk about formative assessment, so it is compared with summative, yeah. So both of them are actually good because they are one condition where the whole assessment is needed. Yeah, there is no fact that only conducting formative assessment then teaching and learning progress can be good. Yeah, because we finally cannot know the achievement of the students. Yeah, so we still need summative assessment here. But when we talk another term of assessment, of course we know informal, formal assessment, but formative assessment here is really needed, especially in remote teaching and learning, because we need to engage our students, yeah, in our teaching and learning, and also we need to provide the different term of assessment that most
Okay.
students usually have in
Yeah.
their mindset.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mbak Pani. And then we have other questions. So many audience actually interesting. I guess we we get that in the first moment assessment is something that people try to stay away from it. Okay, I would
Hmm.
like to ask about the challenges faced by the teacher in implementing tech-based, technology-based formative assessment in today's remote learning. Any comment about that?
The
Okay.
advantages or
Yeah, the
disadvantages.
challenges, the challenges.
All the
Yeah,
challenges.
yeah,
So I think the first thing in remote teaching and learning that faced by the teacher is about digital literacy.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
what mentioned by Bu Prila before, if I'm not
okay.
mistaken. So this is the very core of
Yeah,
the teaching and learning in this pandemic COVID-19, because we cannot neglect the importance of digital competency for teachers. Yeah, even in the implementation of technology-based formative assessments, the teacher also need to master the small thing like we call as technology, how
yeah,
to operate the computers, and then how
yeah,
to come to the certain application, how to make it into login session, how
yeah.
to create the online quizzes, and that's the need of digital literacy. So that's the challenge, the first challenges, and then the next is that the challenge that may be faced by the teachers in implementing uh, technology-based formative assessment is about their own understanding about formative assessment itself. So the traditional formative assessment is also the knowledge of formative assessment is also needed to be the base, the basic and fundamental things to know by the teachers, because if they do not really know about the idea of formative assessment, the context of formative assessment, then the implementation will be failed. They will go back to summative assessment, because we need, as I mentioned, Ibu Ratu, we need to change the mindset that assessment is not only merely about tests, but
Yeah.
we can provide a lot of activity except of scoring, grading, and etc.
Okay, yeah. Perhaps everyone can hear what Pani says about the formative assessment. It's not about only the task itself. Okay, so we have other question here. Let's see. From who is it? Let me find other questions. From Rizal, yeah?
Hmm.
Yeah, so he asked about students' role in formative assessment.
Role.
Yeah, role. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Students' role in formative assessment. I think there are two
Oh,
roles of students in implementations of formative assessment. Yeah, the first, they should be an active agent, of course. Yeah, the first role is that they need to be an active agent in their own learning, because it is important for them to set their own learning goals, set their own learning criteria, yeah, their own willingness to be
Okay.
engaged in
Yeah.
teaching and learning. And the second is they are the facilitator actually.
Yeah.
So they are not merely as the agent, but also the facilitator of the other learning through the process of peer assessment that I mentioned before. Because peer assessment let the students to be resources, yeah, to each other in much way they collaborative, yeah, collaborative teaching and learning. So I think active agent, and the second one is the facilitator, because peer assessment is also uh, good, yeah, for improving each other, because sometimes students are nervous, students
Okay.
are shy
Yeah.
to be assessed and
Yeah.
also to be commented by the teacher, so they need
Yeah.
their own peers.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So Rizal, you can listen that it talks about the active agent and facilitator. Okay. So I think I still have a question for you relate to this formative
Okay.
assessment itself.
I think a lot of participants, yeah,
Yeah,
actually
yeah. It's
interested
because of
in
you. Thank you.
assessment. So why don't we switch on it? Come on.
Okay, so that's actually our goal, that we don't have to talk about serious thing in the classroom. We can discuss it in social media. So our students, especially student
Mm,
teachers, they can get more insight on it. Thank you,
inside.
Pani. Yeah. Okay, so we still talk about formative assessment, and then now we talk about the scoring process in this formative
Mm.
assessment. So is there any kind of the process during the implementation of formative assessment itself?
Okay, so as the purpose of formative assessment is to monitor, yeah,
Yeah,
to
to monitor
monitor the
the
teaching and
keywords
learning
to monitor.
progress. Yeah, the keyword is to monitor. I think scoring and grading is not really uh, the what is it? It's not really the focus of formative assessment, yeah,
Okay.
because monitoring or getting the informations of what happens in the classroom, yeah, through the
Okay.
formative assessment implementation is more better. I mean, more needed for us in remote teaching and learning. But of course, we still can do scoring if we want it, like the quiz that we propose for the students through the use of Kahoot, for example, through the applications of Kahoot, can also be used by the teachers to be one of the scoring in what is it, in measuring their achievements. Yeah, I think it depends. But when we talk about the formative assessment, the core is not scoring or grading them, but we know the evidence of
Okay.
teaching and learning. Yeah, for me personally, yeah, when I did language teaching and evaluation LTE or assessment course, the result of formative assessment that I conducted in every station
Okay.
where became a big mirror, yeah,
Yeah.
for me, because one class will be different to the other classes,
Yeah.
and and that's why I have a different strategy, different approaches, different method in delivering the theoretical what is the theoretical course, like language assessment and testing. And for example, class A will be taught using this kind of strategy, but
Okay.
then it is different to the class B. And I think I mean, formative assessment is really needed today to make the learning process is not boring.
Okay. Yes. That's the point. Okay, actually, there are so many things, yeah, that we can discuss about the assessment. Perhaps in other
Mm.
session, we'll have the session talking about other assessment. But for today's
Okay.
sharing, we just only talk about formative assessment.
Formative
Yeah.
assessment.
Okay. So, is there any other question? Let's see. Let's find out. So yeah, perhaps talk about we try to sum up our discussion in this afternoon about the formative assessment. We talk about what is formative assessment, and then we talk about the characteristic and the element. Yeah, we talk about the process and tool and that notion, and then why formative assessment is important, especially in this pandemic era in remote teaching learning, and then the strategy. You mentioned 4 strategies about that. And then the last one about the scoring process. Perhaps, is there any concluding remark from you, Mbak Pani, about the formative
One thing,
assessment? Okay.
one thing that I need to deliver. If you want to change the learning, the students' learning, then change the method of assessment.
Okay, good notion. That
Yeah.
will be the
If you
keyword.
want to,
I will put it on
yeah.
at that. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I do
Yeah,
agree with
because I
that.
realized it.
Yeah.
Because they have to be in a broader mindset of assessment. We need to make them alive in this remote
Yeah.
teaching and learning. Yeah. Please
Yeah.
live your students. Don't
Yeah.
make them dead in
Yeah.
full of assignments.
Yeah, they kind of have a, what is it, Zoom hangover, that they have to, what is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, move from one Zoom into one Zoom, and then they have, if they only, what is it, if we just only get them a burden of the task or kind of assessment that actually make them stressful, I think that's quite, what is it, inappropriate in this remote teaching learning. Okay, so we have comment from Ibu Melissa. Perhaps Mbak Pani would like to give comments about this. Let's see.
With what?
Yeah, about this one. Challenging is letting the student unaware that they are being assessed to maintain classroom. To maintain classroom
Live.
life. Ah, yeah. Okay, any comment about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned before. Yeah, Ibu Ratu. That we need to make them alive. Yeah, in this what is it? Stressful remote teaching and learning, because too many homeworks will kill you. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So the changing in the way the teacher assess the students, yeah, is needed to make the students engage in teaching and learning. So they will not just notice that remote teaching and learning is full of assignments activity, but we need
Okay.
to change this kind of learning environment by providing the new way of formative assessment in the classroom. Of course, by involving the technology use, because we cannot conduct the remote teaching and learning without the small touch of technology. Yeah,
Okay, especially in
that's
this era. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. What an insightful and fruitful conversation this afternoon. Thank you, Mbak Pani. Any last comment in our session? We just only have 5 minutes left, and perhaps we have to discuss, or perhaps we have to mention one of our audience who get
A
the
lot of
merchandise.
audience commenting.
You have to pick
So
one.
we will be confused. I'm afraid that if I pick one of them, then some of students will ask me, why not me, Ma'am Fanny? Why not me? Why did you choose that one? So I think through Ibu Ratu will be the, what is it? Will be the evaluator, the assessor of today's comment.
Okay,
Because
so
a lot of comments.
a lot of comments. Yes. What is interactive session for today's sharing, Bapani? Thank you. Perhaps I will give you clap.
Wow, thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'll give you kiss.
Ui.
Thank you, Bapani, for this session.
Yeah.
We'd like to say thank you very much, and we are honored having you this sharing session in this afternoon. And you want to choose one, or How?
No. Ibu Prila will be the selector, yeah.
Okay.
Will be the one who select the audience because a lot of comments, yeah, and I do not know the indicator. So this is part of the assessment actually.
So the one who lucky will get the prize, yeah, or the merchandise,
Merchandise.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, Mbak Fani gave it back to EduTech, which is one of you, to get the merchandise. I think it's a good session, Mbak Fani. Thank you for joining with us once
Yeah.
again. And hopefully all of the audience have an what is it, fruitful insight about what is formative assessment. Thank you once again. Clap, clap, clap.
Thank you. You're welcome, and thank you also for the chance, yeah, for giving me a chance in this live sessions. So good program from Educast Taliwangi, and I hope that later, yeah, we would like to make any kind of collaborations with Universitas PGRI Semarang. I hope
Yeah,
so in the near
hopefully,
future.
yes. I will tell it to who in charge in Onsil. Thank you for
Because
joining us.
there is one person that we
Yeah.
need to invite if we are talking about the assessment. I call him as Mahaguru.
Really? Okay. Would you like to mention
Yeah, there
who
is
is
one
it?
expert. I would like to mention Dr. Wiyaka, a friend of Prof. Isti, as the
Okay.
assessment expert. Yeah, so
Okay.
I think he would be the one who make me in this stand.
Okay. Perhaps we will continue it in Zoom
Later.
session. Yeah, later. Because
Yeah.
in Instagram, actually, EduTech just only conduct kind of event that we just only do it for fun, but talk about something that useful for our audience. But then we will do kind of webinar, especially for secondary educators. So our
Yeah.
focus is on secondary educators. So we will have a webinar on November. Hopefully, I will give
That's good.
what is it, a lot of information about who in charge in this field, yeah, about assessment. And
Okay.
Bapani will be
And
one of our speakers too in our webinar.
oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my
On
god.
November,
That's
we'll,
honor.
yeah, we will
And
talk about attack, technology in hand language learning, teaching with technology, also part of it. And assessment is part of how we assess it in this remote teaching learning.
yeah,
Be there
thank you
on
for
November.
bye bye
Okay, thank
love.
you. Bye bye.
Bye
Okay,
bye
yeah,
everyone.
we will announce the one who lucky the merchandise on IG story. Yeah, just stand by
Yeah.
and stay tuned for that.
So you
Thank
need
you.
so all of us need to stay tuned in EduTest
Yeah.
Siliwangi pit, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere and talk to others to follow this kind of social media, EduTech Siliwangi.
Social
So
media.
yeah,
Of course.
yeah, to get more audience. Thank you, Mbak Fan. Thank you. I will give you some
Bye.
parting song.
Wow. Very
Thank
nice.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay, for those who actually just joined, you can get the recording on. I will save it. Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.